How's it going, everyone? Chris Trout, aka the Trout 91, for a Black Ops 3 beta video. So, today I'm going to be talking a bit about the actual beta itself and giving it a bit more of a methodical look at it and overview. For those of you who might be a bit skeptical, might be looking at this thinking, oh, it's great, new Call of Duty. Some of you are thinking about it, oh, new Call of Duty, I hate it. It's completely different and all that. So, I've been playing it today. Obviously, the beta came out today on the Wednesday. I've still got a lot to discover and play so far in this beta, and obviously there's only so much unlocked in it. And I'm basically going to give it a review, positive, negative, what I think is good, what I think is bad, possibly needs to be improved in the game for the final release. And I don't want to keep it too negative, but there will be things that I'll be touching on. Even if it is a beta, that's what it's here for, is to kind of point out what I think is not correct and what should happen. Considering I've been playing loads of competitive Call of Duty over the past few years, and my opinions on Call of Duty as a whole and how it should work have changed, I thought I'd be able to give some good insight. So, let's get into the positives first. For me, this plays a lot like Black Ops 2, and the guns, they're not super quick to kill. My big concern when watching the trailers and stuff like that was that the time to kill was really quick, and there are some guns that kill a lot faster than others, but overall for me, it feels a lot like Black Ops 2. The guns kill at a Black Ops 2 pace. The snipers are still very good like they were in Black Ops 2. For those who are big sniper fans and love Black Ops 2 sniping, it is very similar to that in my opinion. Not a lot of difference, they're still very good and viable. There's a lot of stuff like it in the layout and the familiarity of how the game plays, and little things like the hit markers, the crosshairs, the scoreboards, the weapons, the kill streaks, all that kind of stuff. Very, very similar. I think the perks are a lot more diverse. That's a really good thing, because instead of having perks like toughness, which was a huge perk in Black Ops 2, and it was a huge perk in Advanced Warfare, and it has become almost like a staple perk to an extent. They've gotten rid of it, and now there is, at the moment, no perk for toughness, where basically that is that when you shoot and someone else shoots you back, you don't flinch when you're shooting, is what the perk did. So they've gotten rid of that. So there's no more of that. It's like good old-fashioned Call of Duty. I think the first time toughness or something along the lines, which was hardened pro in Black Ops 1, got introduced, was that game in itself, and it hadn't actually been in Call of Duty. So it's like going back to old-fashioned Call of Duty, and you've got to put up with it. And it is a very interesting thing. So they try to balance out the perks a little bit more. So we used to have Stopping Power, which was the go-to perk for Call of Duty, and now they've decided to do away with it. If a perk is dominating that much, they thought, let's try and change it and make the other perks a little bit more viable. The specialists that they've got, which is basically the character you almost choose, and it has its own little special reward for doing well, and obviously you build that up over time, and it generates itself over time, but every time you get kills and points, it will go up a lot quicker. So you can really use those to help your playstyle out and really develop what you're doing. And also, if you're having a really bad game, maybe you're not having the best of times or you're not the best of players, you can actually still get rewards for what you're doing throughout the game despite that. And some of them obviously a lot better than others. Some of them suit certain playstyles a lot better than others. There'll be ones that are more aggressive for getting kills, ones for more tactical, stealthy approaches, ones for objectives, etc., etc. Overall, I found this a lot more challenging than what I have in previous Call of Duties. I'm trying to think. I think this is potentially the most challenging Call of Duty I've played to date, at least straight off the bat. Like, I was really struggling to when I got off the go. Usually I get on Call of Duty and within a few games, especially playing against newbies, you just absolutely dominate them, and I wasn't having so much luck. Maybe it was the lobbies I was getting into, maybe it was my mindset, but I was finding it a lot more tougher than I usually do. I think it's a lot to do with the idle sway, the recoil, the lack of toughness, the fact that perks are open a lot later on in the game. There are different weapons that are better as you get on. You've got better setups to progress into. So for me, it's not the most forgiving Call of Duty right off the bat. All the guns seem to compete well with each other. That's not to say that some are better than others, but all the guns seem to do pretty decently with each other. I don't know whether you'll feel that way when you play the free maps that are available at this current moment in time in the beta, but for me, I felt like all the guns could do something. However, there are obviously ones a lot better suited for different situations, especially the Razorback for me, and I think for a lot of people now, the Razorback is possibly the best gun available in the beta. I haven't actually tried them all, haven't tried something like the M8. I've heard the M8 is an absolute monster as well, so I have to let you know how that gets on. But again, all the guns seem to compete, but there are obviously some that are a lot better. There's a lot of familiar things from this game, obviously with Black Ops 2, which means that you're not going to get too lost. It's not too hectic. Once you wrap your head around the specialist stuff, it's basically standard Call of Duty. You know, you get your perks, you get your kill streaks, your guns, etc., etc. There's lots of new stuff, obviously, which makes it fresh, although there's a lot of familiarity. There's a lot of new stuff that will keep it fresh and keep it interesting, which I think is good. There's some new game modes that I think might be coming out as well, and there's a lot of familiar game modes coming out, which is good. And the last one that people worrying about, because obviously Advanced Warfare got a lot of flack for the jetpacking and stuff like that. The thrusts aren't overpowered. They're really simple. The only time it's really useful for you is sliding forward, and you can shoot whilst you're thrusting and stuff like that, but it's not hugely overpowered. It's quite slow, lethargic, and doesn't really give you the same kind of advantages that jetpacking did in Advanced Warfare. So I think that's a big relief off of some people's shoulders. Now, some things I wasn't too happy with. I think some of the specialist stuff are too strong. Like the Sparrow, the War Machine, I think they're just way too overpowered. Like, I think the hit detection, especially on a Sparrow, is too good. The War Machine, that spam ability that it has, especially when you don't unlock Flak Jacket until later, can really be an annoyance. The first game I got on, I just got absolutely decimated by a War Machine. I was just like, what am I meant to do about that? And the fact that they come so quickly, just by themselves as well, I think that maybe needs to be taken a look at. I'm not too convinced the fact that they keep regenerating, but admittedly these are pubs, and I suppose I'm thinking more on a competitive level. I could imagine seeing these maybe not so much used in competitive once it does get there, but we'll have to see how that goes. The super vital perks like Flak Jacket, and admittedly, as much as I don't like to say it, Ghosts, you don't unlock to the very end of your prestige, basically. They're a lot, not so much the end, but they're a lot later on. You have to get a good 20 to 30 levels into the game before you start unlocking some really valuable perks, which is very hard for those who are just coming into it. And some problem that games have is that they're not very... It's not easy for a new player to get into it, like halfway through the year or once everyone started getting into it. So it can hinder people in that respect in some ways. In my experience, I've also found the connections not to be the best, even though it says that everyone's on a 4-bar. And I found the hit detection to be a little bit wonky. I think it is... That was a criticism that Black Ops 2 had, is the connections were sometimes really hit and miss. I think for a while now we've had Call of Duties have had hit and miss connections. Maybe it's not so much that, and it's just everyone moans about a bit of lag. But I think the hit detection, although sometimes is really fine, there are other times that things aren't so good. I almost think it's because the connections and the lag comp on Advanced Warfare was so bad that you could tell if you were outgunning, like you were out connectioning someone, because they basically stood still and didn't do anything to you. Whereas on this game, I feel almost sometimes it's such a coin flip going into a gunfight, because people have so much more time to react to what I'm doing and actually getting shots off and moving, whereas in previous Call of Duties you haven't seen so much of that. I don't know if that's a lag comp thing or what, but it was certainly something I noticed straight off the bat. Although I've said all the guns can compete with themselves, which is fair to say, I think the SMGs are still far better than any other guns. I could basically, with this Razorback, I could map anyone across the map with it. It is really, really strong, and I think it should have some looks taken at it. There's a lot of familiar things as well, which they could have possibly changed. I know some of the kill streaks are obviously staples of Call of Duty, especially in Black Ops. Maybe that could have been taken a look at. Add a few more things in to make it a little bit more interesting, because once you get over the new stuff, it does look very similar to what it's previously been. And for me, I don't think the maps are very great. I don't think they play out too well. There's a lot of spawn trapping opportunities, especially on this map and the evac map. I don't think they play out and lend too well. I think Hunted is the only map that, for me, really plays out properly and has... It's one of those maps that's designed for all sorts of gameplay styles, and that's probably my favorite map, despite the fact I don't even think it's the most interesting of maps to play. And that's my thoughts. Is there things that could be taken a look at the end of this and possibly tweaked a little bit. Other than that, this game should rock. I think it's going to be amazing. I think it's going to be incredibly good for competitive especially. I think that's what I'm looking forward to most, is because I've played so much competitive lately. I'm kind of nitpicking at things that on a public level, on a casual player level, maybe not that important, so I have to bear that in mind. But other than that, I think everyone's going to enjoy it. I think it's definitely a game to get involved in. I hope you've enjoyed the commentary. I should hopefully be streaming on Thursday if you guys are interested in that. And I'll see you later. Peace out.